Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning, Bob.
I see you're in the kitchen today.
As always,
And I see you have a pork shoulder
I do.
in front of you,
I do.
along with some accoutrements.
You could call them that.
Yes.
Or you could call it a little bit of mirepoix.
Mirepoix accoutrements.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I actually have all my mise en place ready to braise a pork shoulder.
Nice.
Perfect time of the year. So what I have here for our mirepoix is 3 carrots, which I'm just going to do a rough dice. The first thing, however, is I seasoned my pork shoulder and I tied it. I just seasoned it with diamond kosher salt and black pepper. I like to season it liberally. So while I'm braising, I'm actually going to sear this on all sides. Take my time, about 8 to 10 minutes. And while that is searing on the stove, I'll do that around medium heat. I'll just start to rough chop my mirepoix. 3 carrots, 2 celery, 1 large onion. I have 10 cloves of garlic here that I smashed, which will just go in at the end. I have some beautiful fresh herbs here that I just took from our garden. If you want to take a look, look at that.
Well,
Fresh thyme,
wonderful.
fresh rosemary, sage, and a couple of bay leaves.
Suzanne, who planted those? Some gardener you have on hand?
That would be you, Bob.
Oh, that would be me. I forgot. That's right.
And then our braising liquid. I have 2 cups of unsalted beef stock and 2 cups of white wine. And for a little bit of flavoring, I am going to use 4 tablespoons or a quarter of a cup of tomato paste.
Okay.
That is all the ingredients to braise our pork shoulder. And then we can talk about what we're going to serve with it.
Well, that sounds simply wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'm going to do is get this on the stove and start to braise the pork.
And is that a Staub pot that you're cooking in today?
It is. It's
It
a
is.
French pot, and it's nice and heavy. And at some point, I'm not going to be able to lift these anymore.
No.
But this is a wonderful heat conductor, and it's really great for braising. So, and you did give this to me for Christmas last year.
Oh, stop, sweetheart, stop.
Merry Christmas. To you. Okay.
Christmas is coming up.
Yes. All right. Be back soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Ciao.
So I had this on medium, and you can see how beautiful I kind of browned it all around. So I think it's ready to come off the stove. This took about 10 minutes.
It looks delicious.
And
already.
I'm just going to put it on a rack here. I don't put it directly on this rack because if any juices fall, we can add it to the pot. So see, here's my carrots, onion, and
Very
celery.
nice.
You can see
I would say ½ inch dice.
Yeah, oil did not get too dark. It looks like it's perfect to use for sauteing our vegetables.
So when you use a large dice like that, that's for like a country sort of a thing?
I'm just going to saute that for about 2 to 3 minutes. You don't need to get them totally soft, but you do want them to cook a little bit. And can you hear it got quiet?
Oh, yeah, got quiet.
And the reason is because the water is starting to release from the vegetables. Once these are cooked enough, another minute or so, I'm going to add this, and it is important to cook your tomato paste for about 4 to 5 minutes. Lower it so the tomato paste doesn't burn. You don't want this to burn, but you do need to cook this for a little bit before we go ahead and add all of our beautiful herbs and the garlic.
Got it.
They look very good. I think they look nice. I think this is ready for some tomato paste, and then we'll move on to the next step.
Okay, great. We'll see you back here pretty soon.
Sounds good.
Okay, cheers.
Adios.
Suzanne,
Yeah.
it looks like we might be ready for the next step, adding the herbs.
So our next step is to add our garlic, which I did smash a little bit.
Lightly smashed.
Yeah, our 2 bay leaves. we're going to use our...
That is beautiful rosemary.
Yes, it is. And so is the sage.
Yep.
Sage and pork go very well together. I have about a nice little small bunch of fresh thyme. And you don't want to overdo it with the rosemary, so...
Rosemary can be very powerful.
It can be.
Yeah.
So I think we'll just
Can take over a dish.
Yeah. So let's just do those 3
Okay.
little sprigs. There's my timer. That was my 5-minute timer, so we're right on the money.
You can
And
adjust it
now,
a little bit, huh?
you see this? That's,
Yes.
that's fond at the bottom of the pot, and that's why we're going to use the wine to deglaze all of that and get it back into our vegetables. And you can see the tomato paste. It looks
Oh, yeah.
really good, right?
Yep.
So now we put in all of our herbs and our garlic, and now we want to scrape up all that fond with our white wine.
What are you calling it?
Fond, F-O-N-D, it's flavor.
Fond.
And you want to, that's why you don't want to burn anything. You don't want to burn your tomato paste. You want everything to be nicely cooked. And so here's more over here. Put in your white wine and scrape it up because that's all flavor, even around the sides of your pot too. And at this point, I'm going to raise the heat to high so that it can continue to see how it's still bubbling. I want it to continue to bubble like that. You don't want to lose that.
I'd call it a boil.
Or a boil.
Good, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. All right, we'll add the rest of our wine now. And then I like to
Quiet it down.
cook that for about 3 or 4 minutes. You don't want to cook it all the way down. You just want to get rid of basically the alcohol in the wine.
Sure.
So you want to let that cook for about 3 or 4 minutes before you go ahead and add your beef. Now, your beef stock. Now, what's really important to know is that you don't want your pork shoulder to be completely covered with liquid. It should only be about halfway. If there's too much liquid, definitely take some out. We're going to start with 2 cups. This is about a 3-pound pork shoulder. It's actually a little bit more. So we may either need a little more stock or a little less.
So would you then rotate it at some point?
You need to go, it's going to get covered in the oven, but you need to turn it every hour. And depending on whether you took your meat out to let it come to room temperature or you started cooking right from the refrigerator, does make the difference as far as how long it's going to take to cook. This, I'm going to say, is going to take at least 3 hours. It may take more. So you want to turn it every hour. And all I use is a fork, like this one here. And once it goes into the meat, very, very easily, comes right out, you know that your shoulder is ready.
So you don't do it to a specific temperature?
No, because this is going to be fully cooked.
Right.
Let's let that cook for another minute or so, and then we'll go ahead and put in the beef stock. So now we can go ahead, and I'm going to take my beef stock here. You definitely want to bring this to a boil before you go ahead and put your pork in. All right, so this is going in. Now let's take a look and see where it falls as far as liquid goes. Now, this is not even halfway up the side. So we could, in essence, either add a little more beef stock or a little more water. I'm going to shut this off, and it's boiling nicely. We're going to cover it. It's going to go in the oven. Okay, there we go.
You're right in the center.
300
center of the oven, center of the rack.
300 degrees, right there.
300 degrees.
And I'll check it every hour.
Oh, look at that. I can see you in the reflection. How about that?
What's for dinner tonight? Pork shoulder.
Pork shoulder.
Yes. Okay.
Very nice.
Be back soon. Well,
Folks, we are back with Suzanne, and she has pulled out the pork, and
it took about 3.5 hours. And just to let you know, and I'm going to show you the fork tender test.
okay.
If you want to come
All
a
right.
little closer.
Yep.
So you should be able to get your fork in, and it should just come out very, very easily, which it does. So I'm going to pull the meat out, And then I will strain the broth and I will thicken it a little bit, and that'll be our gravy for our pork shoulder for dinner tonight. So we will let this meat rest. So I'll take the string off and I'll let the meat rest before I slice it. I'm going to pull it out. Here, nice. We'll let that rest, and in the meantime I will strain this. I'll skim off the fat, and then we'll make a really nice sauce to go over the pork. Everything is ready, and I'm ready to plate our dinner. So what I did is I sliced the meat, and I'm just going to serve it. I just want to show you, I covered it with foil, but I also put a piece of parchment on top, just so that the foil is not close to what I have, close to the food. So what I have here is some fennel that I braised along with some Yukon Gold potatoes, and here is our pork slice. And I have my gravy here behind me. I'll leave it on the stove while I plate. So of course, needless to say, you can serve this with mashed potatoes, potato gratin, carrots would be absolutely wonderful with this dish, along with broccoli or haricot vert would be really nice. I love carrots. I would certainly put carrots, and even also some sauteed apples would be really nice with the pork shoulder. This fennel is really delicious, and I think it's going to taste really good with the pork. I did get all the fat off of the sauce, and I thickened it with a little bit of roux. I did just a slurry of cornstarch and water that I put in a little bowl. There's our pork, which really looks nice. Oh, can you see the sauce?
It's luscious.
Look at that.
Oh.
It would be really, really good. So I would put it right over the meat.
That looks wonderful.
And I know there's not a huge amount of color here with the potatoes and the fennel. So I did go to the garden and got a nice little piece of pineapple sage, which there is actually regular sage in our sauce, so it's very appropriate, and it might just give us just enough color.
Pineapple sage, by the way, it's gorgeous.
Here's a little bit of fleur de sel. You can use Malden sea salt, whatever you have, just a little bit over the top. And our dish is complete, and we're ready for dinner. Now, the only thing is, let's talk about the wine a little bit.
Well, let me just finish my pineapple sage ditty.
Yeah.
Pineapple sage is a salvia, and it attracts butterflies and hummingbirds, and it grows down here, blooms in September and October and November.
So
for the wine, we have 2 beautiful glasses of Chianti. I thought Chianti was quite appropriate. It is medium bodied. Look at the color; it's gorgeous. And the wine, the dish, the other dish.
Adios, everybody. We're ready to eat. Let's